Well, the Benin's are not ready to have an Ozolua. If any Oba is crowned as Ozolua, I would your pack from Benin. Oba Ewuare. Ozolua was too tough. I've explained 1,000 times. It was too tough. Was too brutal.
Thanks for clicking on this channel. Please subscribe to FO's blog and click on the notification button so that whenever we upload a new video you will be notified. Oba OZOLUA versus Benin warlords, who had broken the kingdom into different independent segments. Ewuare's son, Oba OZOLUA, on coming to the throne after the short reign of Oba EZOTI and Oba OLUA, his two elder brothers, he found out that he had to reconquer the Benin kingdom over which he had been declared the monarch, including large segments of Benin City itself, or warlords, some of whom had been his father's soldiers. Oba Ewuare I had carved out territories for themselves, and refused to transfer the loyalty they had owed Oba Ewuare to his sons. Examples of such warlords in Benin City itself were at Ilikiti of the Oba Ewuare quarters, sharing the same perimeter wall with the royal palace itself. B. At Abatibo of Ogbe quarters, in the same segment of town as the royal palace. C. Okuan 1VO of Ngwizi quarters, occupying the present-day Upper Lagos Street area of town. Many of the villages in the outskirts of Benin City had also seized the opportunity of the breakdown of the central authority to declare their independence of Benin City. This was the chaotic state of affairs in the kingdom, which the Edos call Hurumurue, meaning the absence of an effective central authority in the land when Ozolua became the king. The central authority in Benin had broken down because when Oba OLUA died the throne had remained vacant for a considerable length of time. Oba OLUA's crown prince, Prince Nginua, and 70 sons of Benin chiefs had been packed off by his father to the riverine territories, probably in hopes that he would become a king in the Portuguese offshore islands of São Tomé and Príncipe. But he ultimately became the Olu of the riverine tribe of the Ichikiris. Watch the video as Mr. Nzadua explains.
The Oba Ewuare ancestral home is Benin. No Benin man or any Benin woman has any right, under what guise or whatsoever, to say that the Oba Ewuare does not have a right to his own house. That's the first point I want to establish. He's one of us. He's not just one of us. He's of the royal blood of Benin Kingdom, of our history. This is not Ishekiri history. This is Benin history. Because the sons of these 70 chiefs are Benin people, so it's Benin history. Now, they said the first sons of the 70 chiefs of Benin. That is completely against the history that has been narrated over the years. There is a difference between Ethiopiana and Oyopiana Nodion. Alright, the heirs of these lineages, the heirs of these 70 chiefs, heirs, first sons is different from sons of the 70 chiefs. The history that is true is that these were 70 sons of the 70 chiefs of Benin, not first sons. Not first sons. They were not heir. They were not first sons.
Meanwhile, Prince Opaman, who later became Oba OZOLUA, was a fugitive offender, in exile in the Ora lands of northern Edo. He had fled Benin City even before his elder brother, OLUA, was crowned the Oba of the kingdom. He had escaped into exile when it became generally known that he had murdered Prince Ewuare, his nephew and the son of the recently deceased Oba EZOTI. He had murdered Ewuare to make sure that the young man was not put on the Benin throne by the elders, in succession to his father EZOTI. So when Oba OZOLUA died, and there was nobody to occupy the throne, things fell apart in Benin, and a state of uncertainty descended upon the kingdom. As things went from bad to worse, the city elders decided to let bygones be bygones, and invited Prince Oba back to Benin City to take over the throne of his father Oba Ewuare. To get Oba back from exile, the city elders had to indulge in a bit of cajoling by reminding the prince of his antecedents as a true son of the royal house, a heritage that he was obliged to be faithful to always. According to Benin Ora history, the Benin elders employed the analogy of the instinctive sensibilities of the house rat and the bush rat to drive their point home. The two rats were put together in a box, which the Benins call EZOTI, and the box sent to Prince Oba in Ora land in Edo North as a gift from the city elders. When the prince opened the box, the house rat promptly made its way up the rafters to the roof of the house. The bush rat, on the other hand, darted out of the door and straight into the bush. OZOLUA understood the action of the rats, and returned home to Benin. Happily, OZOLUA was well cut out for the job which his birth, and the prevailing circumstances, had now thrust upon him. He was a natural warrior, who delighted in the sound of battle. And during his many years of exile and wanderings in the savanna lands of the northern Edo territories, he had acquired a chained mail battle dress, made of iron rings and leather strappings, usually worn by the warlords of the Middle Ages in both Europe and Arabia. The battle dress must have come down the Saharan trade routes to the great market in Kano, from where it was brought south by traders through Nupe land. This armored dress acquisition by OZOLUA made him virtually undefeatable in battles in the forest areas of the Benin country, where horses and lances were not used in warfare. Folklore clearly remembers this battle dress armor of OZOLUA's, for people still say today of somebody who is taking too much time in dressing up for an event, they will say, "He is taking such a long time dressing up for this event," like OZOLUA dressing up for battle. An interesting bit of dialogue, clearly remembered by folklore, hauntingly illustrates the nature of the state of affairs in the kingdom when OZOLUA arrived from Ora land and was crowned the Oba of Benin. The new Oba sent the customary gift of white chalk to each of the local warlords in Benin Kingdom. The gift was to announce to the local warlords that a new Oba had been crowned in Benin City. Acceptance of the chalk by the ruler denoted that he had automatically transferred his loyalty, which he had owed the old reign, to the new sovereign on the throne. Rejection of the chalk meant the non-acceptance of the authority of the new sovereign, and this was usually swiftly followed by the conquest of the recalcitrant ruler. OZOLUA sent the white chalk of good tidings, signaling the commencement of his reign, to El Lekiti at the Ogbalaka quarters in Benin City, adjacent to the present-day High Court complex of the city.
First, I was saying Egba is a community. That's where the problem was. Egba is a community. Iwu is also a community. How can community be in another? It didn't make sense. But eventually I discovered that he was referring to a warlord. I have read about the warlord some time ago in one of the ESS books. His name is Egba. The name of that warlord was Egba. Now, the other part was Noriwu. Noriwu. So I was not saying that nicknamed, because in Benin, Wabe Noriwu, that is nickname, alias, that is also known as, you know. But I was wrong, because when I listened further and I discovered that he was saying what he meant was that Iwu was a community that Egban hailed from. So it was Egban Noriwu. Egban whose own town is Iwu. Alright? Egban whose own town is Iwu. So the story was about Ozolua, the Oba of Benin, and another powerful warlord who hailed from a community called Iwu along the Benin-Lagos road. You understand? So, now the story went further to say that Egban had a sword, and Umozu, a war sword. You are not supposed to have that kind of a war sword, except the Oba guarantees you. So now, a lot of news fell to the ears of Ozolua that someone was going to raise a kind of an army against the throne, or against the kingdom, or the empire as it was then. So he sent first badge. He sent first batch to go and meet him, to ask him, so he told those badges, those emissaries, excuse me, he told those emissaries that Opianin from Mozoni na me obien iya ya gbugbo na do yare rai bona bari ave. You know, the cutlass that a filler was heard that could create a recalcitrant force or an opposing force to the Oba of Benin, he was going to use that sword to sort of farm for the Edo people. Alright? During that conversation, his wife came out and told the emissaries of Oba OZOLUA that, oh, you know, that the husband is lying, that the husband is having a mind to go to war with Oba OZOLUA. You know, now okay, bopia. Now okay, bopia. No, don't worry. I will play the song again. Now okay, bopia. So the story was that Anna game I inquire Oba OZOLUA, Oba Egban, that Umozo, who have do we home babedo, Oba Umozoni, iya gbugbo nedo yari variana variave. In course of that, on high no, Nana Honko noro eko or Ozolua ko okpanya evahin. When Ozolua we mwegboku akema ya hia only ebe do Ozolua. So on high and I found in the course of not realizing that his wife, a man's wife, has unveiled the true intent of his plan against Oba OZOLUA. He killed 3 of the emissaries and allowed one to flee, to actually go and tell OZOLUA that he said that after Egban had allowed one of the emissaries of Oba OZOLUA to give him the message, OZOLUA understood that OZOLUA Nasiai, he didn't talk about it. It was shocking, it was surprising. The OZOLUA that we know will instantly declare war on you. But he decided to leave Egban Noriwu. He left him for 3 years. honor, you know, man, you know, when I heard that part, I remember I posted something, Ozolua Noga. It's that part that thrilled me. You know, someone has declared war against Ozolua, who was famous to react to even the slightest offense. Decided not to speak on the matter for 3 good years. So Doiri, he didn't speak. He didn't tell a man that he picked offense. A man was prepared. A man was ready, but he waited 6 months. Ozola didn't go. 1 year, Ozola didn't go. A year and 6 months, Ozola didn't go. 2 years, Ozola didn't go. Even that time, he now eventually forgot about it. But you understand one thing about Ozola, he was a very unforgiving. He was a very unforgiving king. He doesn't know how to forgive. He doesn't know how to forgive. So he didn't forgive, and eventually he took war, and Ibanoriwu was eventually defeated, and every other.
Military campaigns were mounted against each of these chieftains, warlords, and they were conquered in turn. It was this form of warfare which occupied much of Ozolua's tenure as the Oba of Benin. When his third son, Prince Nduber, alias the Harawanhan, came of age, he helped to lead Ozolua in some of these campaigns, affording his father some respite from battlefield exertions. One of such notable campaigns led by Prince Nduber was against a rebellious Okunwo village, not far from the present-day Oluku Junction in Benin City. Oba Ozolua was said to have conquered 201 of such principalities and towns. He lost his life in his 201st campaign against Huziha village in Ishanland, where he was done in by the betrayal of his tired soldiers. A battlefield collaboration had taken place between the Benin army and the opposing soldiers of Hagba, the Inogie of Uromi town and an ally of Huziha village. The Uromi soldiers, in fulfillment of their own part of this collaboration, assassinated their lord, Hagba. The Benin soldiers, in turn, betrayed their lord, Ozolua, to the already defeated Huziha soldiery, who, by tunneling underground, as arranged, inflicted mortal wounds on the great king in his bathroom. Ozolua's faithful personal guard carried the mortally wounded monarch through Ariu and Ozigwar villages, all the way to Esi village, near the modern Siliko town, in the Oha River Valley, where Ozolua's father, Oba Ewuare the Great, was buried. There the great warrior died. But his remains were successfully brought back to Benin and buried in Benin City, as narrated in one of the more memorable stories in Benin folklore. Thus was the near interminable Huzi War brought to an end, through this mutual collaborative conspiracy and betrayal against their leaders, by the two opposing soldiery. The soldiers of both sides were then able to depart to their respective homes, to tend their yam farms.
Well, the Benins are not ready to have an Ozolua. If any Oba is crowned as Ozolua, I will your pack from Benin, Ewuare. Ozolua was too tough. I've explained 1,000 times. It was too tough, was too brutal. Was too tough, was too brutal. Yeah, Ovorame was another brutal king. Was very brutal. But compared to Ozolua, he was manageable. He had allies. Ovorame had friends, had allies. Ozolua had none. MLC. No, nobody in history can say that. Ozolua, it's not possible. Like I told you, in deference, Aro Anthony, in deference, there was a proclamation that all the 3 children must be an Oba of Benin. In deference, like I told you, there are free trials. For the fact that that's Oba Ewuare's proclamation does not mean that anybody cannot have, if EZOTI had died and Owe was just a child, he was asked to go and bring Owe from Isi in present Uhunde area to witness the burial of his father, not that to be crowned as the Oba. Even Owe won't have been also be crowned as the Oba, even if there was not even proclamation, because he was too young. It was a child that was less than 10 years. You can't give that so much responsibilities to that child. Otherwise, you have to first of all give an Edai. And Benins don't have that space of time to give an Edai. Otherwise, they will have to allow the throne to be vacant until the child grows up. But that was not even the case. The case of bringing away was not to crown him, was not to make him an Oba. He has a field. He has a contestable right. Like I said, he can contest, but it was not in his generation. He will have to wait for his 2 uncles, which is OLUA and OZOLUA. So, but because OZOLUA never wanted any rivalry, either as at that time of history or futuristic history, he eliminated the first threat. Alright, he eliminated the first threat. Then the second threat, they all fled. His elder brother, OLUA, rejected to be the Oba, citing that his own younger brother will kill him because the guy was, sorry, let me not call him the guy. The prince was voracious. I don't want to use the word he was wicked. He was everything that you would not want to have as a king. So people were naturally scared of their lives. So not that kind of a person you want to be a king. The Benins were afraid of him. The Benins were afraid of him. So they didn't want him. So his own elder brother, OLUA, fled and said he can't accept the throne. It is during that time that even when he was banished, he was already banished at the time, that OLUA said he would not be able to accept the throne, that he will come from wherever he was banished to come and kill him. So it was during that time that their sister, what's her name again? Princess Ideleyo, now accepted to be an Oba. Because you cannot create a vacuum of leadership. The sister now agreed to become an Oba, but during the process, she could not solve the process through. She ended a menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle went on for weeks, and then they now said that Gile Okweme Barry Oba were doing all of that. So that's when OLUA, they were not able to convince OLUA. OLUA now became the Oba and all of that. After OLUA became the Oba, he also had a son who had the same mindset with his uncle OLUA, OZOLUA. All right, and the Benin also knowing fully well that we are running from OZOLUA. We have another OZOLUA's reincarnate as his nephew. So we cannot allow Genoa to be an Oba. We cannot allow Prince Okpame OZOLUA to be an Oba. But instead, the Benins, that's the part of the history that a lot of books will not tell you, were without no king for 3 years. They become a republican state. That is what led to the big guys like the Nekiridi Nobelaka to create a section of the empire for themselves and now become an overlord of it during that years of interregnum. There was a 3 years interregnum between OLUA and OZOLUA that is unaccounted for. Some of these things are not accurate as you think it is. There was a 3 years unaccounted for. There was no king in Benin. So when Benin was now gradually drifting into a republican society where people who had fought side by side with Ozolua's father, which is Oba Ewuare, there were his comrades like the Nekiridi and Ofogbelaka and all of that, the Ovatoni Giodumala. They were creating their own sections for themselves as their overlord. So it was gradually going out of hand. We're losing the central power that controls the entire empire. That is what, at the last resort, that is when it was of use that we have to go and bring Ozolua, because it's better that we have a very high-handed king who is able to reunite everybody together than having a king, than having no king at all and drifting into a republican society. So when Ozolua eventually accepted after so many talk until they did what the native doctor told them, I've explained all of this history before, he now became the Oba. Now when he became the Oba, the first major test that he had was not to fight outsiders, was to fight the enemies within. Because these comrades that fought alongside with his fathers, these incredible generals had already had sway for these 3 years that Benin had no king. So he had to contend with them. And contending with these people took a better years of his reign. It took better years of his reign before he was able to defeat all of them and have an absolute control of the empire. And that is where he missed it. I won't have an absolute control of the empire. He could have stopped and started to create peace. He was not a peace lover. He's not. I'm waiting this guy they call I'm no preacher of love in Daboski. He was not preacher of love, actually. Anyway, I think that's so. Owe was brought not to become the Oba. I think I've answered that. I'm almost losing my voice. I've spoken about this, that Ozolua never died at. I did an interview to some press guys, the Air Force blog and all of that. Okay, the interviews are not out yet. I explained it in details. Ozolua was betrayed to the Uzier people. Sorry, I need to drink water. Ozolua was betrayed by the Benin people to the Uzier people. There's no way the Uzier people would have been able to kill Ozolua. I think I already did an interview on that. I think the interview will be coming out very soon. So once the interview, I'll just tell those guys that conducted those interviews to give me a copy of it so I can share it on this page. Your mom was right. She's very right. I couldn't tell which of the place that he eventually died. But I know that he has gotten to Benin before he died, but he was badly injured by a poisonous arrow. He was badly injured. That's because he was sold out by his people to these people because they were tired of him. All through his reigns, there had never been peace from one war to the other. He wakes up in the morning and wants to go to war. He wakes up in the morning and wants to go to war. He wakes up in the morning. Why? Some of these wars that he went for were unnecessary. They were unnecessary. Ewuare fought necessary wars. But his son Ozolua fought most of the wars. The first few wars that he fought, the inner wars, were necessary wars. But after he had been able to reunite everybody together, he started to fight unnecessary wars. So that's where he lost it. That's where he lost it. And there's no way he wouldn't have been defeated by going to Uzier. Because I've told this story before, that the native man, the native doctor that gave the sham that was used in giving birth to Ozolua was from Uzziel. And the umbilical cord of Ozolua was planted at Uzziel. And a proclamation was made by his father, Ewuare, that if any time any of these children dare go to war with Uzziel people, they will not win. They will be defeated. So he knew that there was a prophecy by his father against Omanowe Senera. You know, when Ozolua was giving birth, the native daughter was powerful. You know, you have powerful native daughters of the old. They were saw that this son was going to take war to the Uzziel people and conquer them. And he told his father, this son that I have provided the charm for you will also come and kill me. And Ewuare made a proclamation, if he dare kill you, he will never return. He will never return to the throne. And that's what happened. He went to Uzziel, defeated them roundly. He was sold out by his people. He was badly injured. And when he got to, well, I don't know whether it was in Dokpa, but some people said around AC area of Umo there, maybe close to Dokpa. So maybe it could be Dokpa. Idokba at Adowa bypass area. Then that's where he gave up the ghost until his body was now brought to Benin for proper burial. But what I can guarantee you is that he was sold out by his people.
Content creator, Oba OZOLUA.